Yes, also known Avery like a very nice guy, also known as Carlton Banks. Carlton with a K, BANXXX. Carlton with a K, BANXXX. And I'm here with my brother, the co-host, Just Devon.
It is just Devon. Thank you. Thank you.
Just Devon.
We're in the middle. These get released later, so we're in the middle of the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. We don't know what we're in the middle of. If you're looking at this right now and you're scavenging for food, things went bad with Corona.
Yeah.
If you're not, we overreact.
Just as
it could go
to get famous.
anywhere. It could go anywhere. It could go anywhere. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, if we're all scavenging for food, maybe that's how you become famous.
Wow.
They're like, you're the one guy on the radio.
Wow.
I don't know.
That would be terrible. And also, it's Pie Day, too.
It is Pie Day. I almost missed out on Pie Day.
Especially black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Houston down to my socks. It's your boy Chips Ahoy. I hate that joke, but I love it too. Avery, the anomaly, also known as Avery, like a very nice guy. Avery, like a very nice guy. 777 on everything. I'm also here with the co-host Just Devon. Boom. Just Devon, back with another, in my humble opinion, podcast. We keeping in the tradition of having great people from Houston royalty. We have a special guest with us today. He's a composer, an arranger, a producer, a vocal editor, and a guitarist, to name a few of his talents. He's worked with the likes of UGK, Slim Thug, Bun B, Just Brittany, Trademark the Skydiver, Kurt Cobain's Hollywood Floss, Destin Prestige, friend of the show, Jack Freeman, also another friend of the show, and Zero. That's just a few people, number one. And he has a catalog full of hip-hop notables and ambient tracks for you to just vibe to, live to, do everything to. We have our guy with us, Chris Rockaway, ladies and gentlemen.
Ahoy.
Yay!
Chris, how are things like out in Los Angeles right now? Are you quarantined? Are you like what's life?
I live quarantined anyway. I just work from home out here. When I moved to LA, I just sort of smashed all my shit into my room instead of having a studio out here. So this is not a big deal for me at all, except for the lack of haircuts and shit like that. Nothing's opened here. Like restaurants aren't open, movie theaters, none of that shit's open out here.
Oh wow!
In LA, gyms might be opening in a few weeks, but nothing's open. They opened the pool at my apartments 2 days ago and closed it again because everybody was just like, I saw some kid with no bottom on swimming. I said, that's coronavirus. That's the definition of coronavirus.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that's open is the pool at my apartments. It's fucking disgusting. So, I'm just
apartment pools are not the wave.
I live in a nice apartment complex. It's a nice pool, but that kid ruined it forever.
I can understand.
That kid let his doodle flow in the pool. I said, no.
That was the end of that. That was
the end of the pool. It doesn't matter. You could fill it with chlorine. It could be 100% chlorine. I don't care.
Still not gonna.
Now, you are from Houston, correct?
Born in New Jersey, raised in Houston.
Born in New Jersey, raised in Houston.
What a Jersey?
Patterson.
Patterson, New Jersey. That's what's up.
Yeah, bullshit. Yeah, I love it.
Hey.
Awful place.
Patterson, horrible place.
It's great. I loved it. I went a few years ago for my birthday. I wouldn't get out of the car. The person I was with wouldn't get out of the car. I was like, this place is awful. No wonder my parents moved to Houston when I was a toddler. Places like 28 days later. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
You want to score some drugs? Go to Patterson.
Or it looked like there was good food, but I was like, I'm not getting out on the street. People were just standing on the street. The cops were just looking at them. Everybody was at a stalemate. There was just papers flying down the street from wind. I said, I'm not getting out. I'm just.
You're describing like a scene in Batman.
Yeah. That sounds like
before Batman. Yeah, it's about before Batman.
So this is before Batman.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But raised in Houston, raised 288 in Alameda.
Okay, that's not far from it.
By the red snow cone wagon.
Yeah.
By the Hilo, by Foodorama, by Video Square. You guys know all that shit.
Video Square.
By the Pit Stop. What's the barbecue place? I can't even remember, but I'm trying to remember all my childhood places. There was a Luke's Hamburgers when I was a kid.
Okay. So you're there. I mean, so you're basically raised in Houston. We're talking about you're here when you're a toddler.
Absolutely. All my memories are Houston.
Yeah.
All my memories are Houston.
I mean, we have plenty of guests that come on the show and they're like, oh, well, you know, I'm from New York, but I came here when I was like 3 or 4. And I'm like, you don't have a real memory until you're like 5. And who cares what you did before you were like 11, 12, 13?
It could be in your heart. It could be in your heart.
Yeah.
Patterson's in my heart. I'm a piece of shit in my heart.
Piece of shit in my heart.
Yeah. So I felt like I like if I drive into Patterson, there's like a little tear, but no, it's Houston. Yeah,
but it's not a tear enough to make you like stop and want to get out.
Nobody wants to stop and get out. What are you talking about? Not enough to make the president get out. What are you talking about?
Oh, just drove by Patterson.
Yeah, just drove by. Goodbye.
You just got to keep on driving. You just got to keep driving.
Yeah, just drive through. It's small but dense.
Yeah, it is. It's small but dense.
I think it's the second most dense city in the U.S., even though it's like the 151st biggest city in terms of population. It's like tiny, but people are just stacked and stacked.
Stacked on top of people.
It's insane. Yeah, it's a tiny town with a gazillion people in it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've been in Houston since what age?
1.5. I don't know.
You're a Houstonian.
I'm a Houstonian. I'm a
Houstonian. Pure Houstonian. But
what school did you go to?
Elementary. I started at Alameda Elementary.
Really?
And then it wasn't for me. So my parents got me transferred to River Oaks Elementary.
Sweet.
Elementary school, Jeff Bezos. That's where he went. A lot of people know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos went to River Oaks?
Yeah. Look on the Wikipedia.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I went to Lanier and then Lamar.
Okay.
So all in the same like little block.
Yeah.
I'm picturing like a young Jeff Bezos like selling candy and then like pushing every other kid out the market, but that's like my whole little thing.
Not letting anybody pee. Amazon's whole thing, not letting anybody pee in those warehouses.
Yeah. Young Jeff Bezos. Okay. So you're at River Oaks. That's elementary? Elementary. Where you go to middle?
Lanier.
All right. At what point are you getting into music?
My father was a songwriter, so he worked with like some people in like the 70s, early 80s and shit. So it was
notable names. Any notable names that your father?
Yeah, all sorts of notable names. It's hard because the songs. It was one of those things like sometimes I work with really big artists, but then the songs don't come out, so it would be wrong for me to say the names. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
And so my dad, same thing. My dad would have pictures on the wall with like famous fucking people, and I would be like, "What song?" He was like,
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're talking like, I don't know. There's like, who could I even say that I wouldn't be like slandering? No, I don't want to say anything, but just there's like 2 people that went like diamond that my dad worked with.
Wow.
There we go.
We're talking like rock dudes, like 70s rock.
I understand. Okay.
Anyway, but by the time I was born, he had to have a regular job because he was good, but not good enough to like make us $1 gazillion. So but it was one of those things where, you know, I don't know, like, do you ever see that movie Varsity Blues?
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember, like the dad of Dawson from Dawson's Creek, his dad was like, you know, I was a high school football player and you're going to be a pro football player, like that type of thing. My dad was like, I was an amateur songwriter. You're going to be a real fucking musician. So from an early age, it was like I had to know what chords were, notes, arpeggios, all that shit. And then one day I missed the bus, and he picked me up from school, and an ad came on the radio for like a guitar sale at Guitar Center, and my dad was like, "So is it time?" I said, "All right, that's fine." Yeah, and that's when I started.
So I guess with that, like, what was your percent? I mean, you brought up Varsity Blues. Like in Varsity Blues, Dawson played, but at one point he's like, "I don't want your life." Like,
right. So, no, I always wanted the life.
Okay.
Because there's a quick way for like, if you're like an awkward kid, if you're like, I had a speech impediment, I was like chubby. That's the easiest way for people to be like, "Oh, this guy's all right," is to like bang out some shit on an instrument, you know?
Okay.
You either gotta be funny or you play an instrument, and I'm not funny at all. So not in the least fucking bit. So
that can't be completely true.
Well, you know, you're like middle school funny, which is just like making fart noises and shit like that. Yeah. But you know, I figured music was like a thing, and I always had rhythm. I could always keep rhythm. Like if I turned on a metronome and then turned it, or if I turned on a metronome, turned it off, and turned it on a minute later, I would still be on beat if I was doing this. So like I was always on beat, so I always knew I could play music for a living.
Okay. So your dad had been training you from like a very early age, like, yo,
yeah,
you're gonna be into music.
Yeah, one time we were listening to a song I liked when I was like 9 in the car, and he was like, "That bass line is really good." And I was like, "What's the bass?" And he was like, "Don't be an idiot. The bass is the low thing." And I was like, "I don't." And my dad was like, "Don't be an idiot. It's boom, boom, boom." I was like, "I don't." So it was like, yeah, I just had to learn the shit, much like Dawson in Varsity Blues.
So you were already on the path, and your parents are basically like, "Yo, we fully support this." Like,
yeah. Just do whatever you want. I could have been a fucking janitor. They would have been like, "That's amazing." Yeah, no, fully support parents. Yeah.
It's good, man. Great.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
So you get versed in. I mean, I guess the first instrument you're really playing is the guitar.
Piano, guitar.
Piano and guitar. Which one do you prefer?
Now I like playing the piano. I go through fits with like my favorite instruments, but like when I was a kid, I was way better at the guitar than piano. But piano is such a logical instrument.
Yes.
My favorite instrument to listen to is the vibraphone.
Okay.
Beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
Beautiful instrument. If anybody's interested, like there's a really good vibraphone player in Houston. I think he's still alive. He's a million fucking years old, named Harry Shepard. And I knew him when I was a kid because my friend's mom dated him, and he played for like Billie Holiday, just this old motherfucker, and he would play the vibraphone. I was like, that's the coolest fucking instrument. The thing is, you can't make 50 cents with the vibraphone, so I wouldn't. So I would never play the vibraphone, but it's a great passion of mine.
Yeah. To get the vibe. And nobody, you know, there aren't a lot of vibraphone solos. Nobody's ever like, "Yo, did you hear the vibraphone in the background?" But it's a great instrument.
You guys' friend Hollywood Floss always let me do what I want on songs. So there's like 4 Hollywood Floss songs with vibraphone solos at the very end. He's like, "Do whatever you want at the end of the song. After I'm done, I'll be like, cool, vibraphone solo."
That's awesome. That's awesome. You get, and I will say we'll get to that later because we've interviewed a number of guests that have been like, "Oh, you just like you send it to Chris or you send it to Rockaway and he just does what he wants." Like I don't know what he's gonna do sometimes, but he's gonna do what he wants. Yes. Particularly like Jack Freeman's album. Jack talks about that album. He's like, it was different, and then I sent it to him, and it was just a whole nother album, and I love it. Yeah, so. Going back to, I mean, we're talking about middle school and then high school eventually in Houston. You are in a lot of different styles of music now, but what styles were you listening to around that time?
Same deal. My parents raised me to listen to songs, not styles or artists. So like when I was a kid, we would listen to the jazz station, to the rock station, to whatever it was, to R&B songs, whatever. So when I was in middle school, high school, I was in a band, but nobody liked us because nobody could tell what style we were. And it was like sort of spastic, like probably the style that would closest fit us is like, you know what hardcore music is? It's like a fusion of punk and metal.
Yeah.
But we would also have like funk breaks in the songs and like jazz breaks. And then people were just, I hate this shit. But that's what I played in. And then like I ended up playing guitar for like the Lamar like gospel choir briefly. I was in a jazz quartet. I was always playing everything.
That's everything, really.
It was always important to me because every day I wanted to play something different. So it wasn't like I was like, I'm this musician. It was important that I expressed what I liked, which was music, not styles.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And why was that so important? The expressing the music and not the styles to you?
Because I'm a voracious listener, so I figured I would be a voracious proponent of creating the same type of music. Also, it lets, like, probably in the sense that people are front facing when they're younger and they're concerned about people's perception of them. I wanted people to never be able to figure me out, right? Because at that point, they just have to go, wow, Chris Rockaway is overwhelming. That was great to me. That's better than being any one thing. It's just being over fucking whelming. So if somebody said, if some guy in a Iron Maiden shirt was like, wow, you play really good metal, well, the next thing I'm going to play is Charlie Parker. Right? Because then he's going to be like, oh, fuck this fucking guy, which is all I wanted him to say, this fucking guy, because at that point, I've overwhelmed him. I must be smarter than him.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, so short answer, intellectual vanity is the reason.
Intellectual vanity.
Want to prove your intellect.
Yeah.
So your goal is to kind of make sure, at least in that aspect, you're not going to pigeonhole me. Like if you think you know what it is about me, I'm going to play the complete opposite. And
100%. 100%. If you guys listen to, in the intro you did for me, you referenced my albums.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Often I do this thing that's sort of fucked up where the first song on the album is totally different than the rest of the album.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I do that where the first song is like, Rah! And then the rest of the album is like beautiful.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Like, it's like.
Yeah, sorry about that. But that's the same thing. That's the most immature part of me expressing itself right there, is just being like, if you can make it through this oral gauntlet, then you deserve to listen to the rest of it.
Because there is a point where, there are songs where one song just started out as complete static for a while.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, maybe my stuff messed up.
No.
And then I'm looking, I was like, oh, no, it didn't.
No, my shit messed up. Yeah.
I like that. It gets people to pay attention.
Yeah, 100%.
Positive thing.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. The only issue I'm going to take, and this is a personal thing because I brought it up with Jack, and he was like, yeah, that's Chris. The end of Cold Blooded is the best.
Okay.
It's the best. I was like, it ends in a way where I'm like, yo, I want so much more of this song now. And then it just cuts off. Yeah. And I was like, yo, this is incredible.
This changes.
It's so much more important to me that you want more than you want less.
I like that.
The worst thing someone can say to you is, I wish that was shorter.
Yeah.
That's
the
incredible.
worst thing. So I'd just rather have somebody say, I wish that was longer. The email I got from Jack when I sent that with that outro the first time, he said, I was not expecting that, LOL. So
I definitely, I was just like, oh, I really like Cold Blooded. I said, I like it. I was the whole thing. And then it gets to the end and I'm,
switches up on you.
I love this song. And then it just cut out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I just got to keep on playing this over and over again now.
Good.
Oh, yeah. I'm huge.
You're a true artist.
More De Niro from me.
You're a true artist in that sense. You can see with your artistry that you, like you've said before, I mean, it's like intellectual vanity, but I see it as you just don't want to get bored.
100%. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was good.
And with you not getting bored and you listening to so many genres of music, who are your favorites?
Favorite musicians of all time?
Yes.
Stevie Wonder.
Oh yeah.
Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
If you had asked me 4 years ago, I would have said Kanye. He's been fucking up so bad for like 4 years now.
He's still one of my faves. What about rock bands?
Rock bands? The normal ones everybody likes, like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Like, what are other rock bands I liked a lot? Like, I don't know. Like, what would be a band? Like, I like most of them. I like at least like 3 songs from most people. You know, it's hard to say. It's
really
hard
healthy.
to have artists. But like my favorite artist, my favorite musician of all time is Stevie Wonder. I like Prince a lot.
Yeah.
I like anything from Funkadelic, Climate Funkadelic. It's really hard for me to pinpoint rock bands because there's so many songs I hate from every rock band as well.
Wow.
So many things I hate. Like if I told you the first concert I ever went to, it was a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, and I can't listen to that band at all now. Like because that band just bothers the shit out of me for the most part, except for like 3 or 4 songs. So if I were to tell you that, you would get an idea like whatever the groovier bands were. You know,
I see. You do like grooves.
Yeah.
You like early Flea, or when Flea wasn't the bassist, and like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but then like when it got to him, it kind of
with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it's just the and I normally don't care a ton about. I can put vocals to the side, but the vocalist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers is so lame to me most of the time.
melancholy. Yeah.
It's just like he's just saying like doodly words. He's just making up words.
Californication. Okay.
He's just doing shit. Yeah, he's just doing shit. I'm not really. I'm done with his shit. I saw him in person. He's short as shit.
I see eye to eye with you, sir. I have a problem with him as well, but I'm like, wow. You're just letting the beans spill. That's awesome.
Yeah. I hope this video gets taken down, man. It's
bad for me, brother. It's bad for me.
He's gonna uppercut me from 5'3" and just.
All of them are little.
I mean, but you know, most celebrities are short, so that you know that.
A lot of people are fucking short.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. I've hardly met anybody who's taller. I was in line behind it. Well, in LA, you encounter a lot of celebrities. I was in line at Whole Foods behind Jason Segel. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tall as shit.
Oh, yeah.
Tall as shit.
tall.
Like
Really?
gigantic.
Yeah.
Humongous. Like he's like 6'5". It was crazy. Yeah, that was the only tall celebrity I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's like,
Really?
he is. He's huge. I'm like, man, on How I Met Your Mother, he was bigger than everybody.
Yeah, freaked me out.
I don't know why. I just thought he was like regular height, probably. You know what? I was like, but I feel like he was just so much taller than on everybody else on that show.
Yeah, because everybody's 5'8".
Yeah.
He's 6'5".
Yeah.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Okay.
I'm just 6 foot even straight up for all the women watching this. I passed the test.
You passed the test. I'm 6'1", and I prayed to God. I'm so happy for just that one.
Oh, the one's great because when you say 6 foot, women think you're lying. If it's like on DM, they think you're 5'10". But every time I go to the doctor, they're like, "Wow, exactly 6 foot. The top of your head is 6 foot." It's the greatest fucking shit that ever happened to me.
It is.
Even.
Devon's 6'2", so I'll be like, "Come on."
Yeah. I can get a 6'3" depending on the gas station I walk out.
They don't want anybody taller than 6'3" though. Nobody wants anybody taller than 6'3" because at that point you got a hunch to get into shit. Somebody pulls up with a small car. Somebody pulls up with like a Mini Cooper, and you got to put your legs up in the shit. It's bullshit.
You look like Shaq in those car commercials.
Yeah.
I'm always like, Shaq, you don't ride in an Oldsmobile. You look uncomfortable as hell.
He really does.
No, Shaq only drives like tanker trucks. That's like,
I don't know how he was fitting himself in those. Well, I know why, for the money. I
have a tattoo of Shaq.
You have a tattoo of Shaq?
Yeah, he's dunking. He's on the Magic. He was my favorite player when I was a kid.
Shaq
I see it. Oh, that's awesome.
Shaq is the. There are 2 celebrities that I've literally run into, ran into them. The first one is Shaq. He used to play at the Y over in Sugarland. And I went down there. I was talking to a friend. I was looking back behind me as I was talking to him. And I slammed into at what I thought at the time was a wall. And I looked, I fell down on the ground and I looked up and it was Shaq. He was looking down on me and he reached down, picked me up with one hand and said, "Sorry about that, little man," in his deep Shaq voice. And nobody in life since a child has ever called me little man, ever. So I was just like, oh. And also I was like, yo, Shaq, that hurt. Like me running. So every time I saw him playing after that, when I saw people like taking elbows and running up against him, Iverson going against him in the finals, I was like, yo, he's really putting it all on the line because Shaq is massive. Yeah. Like, for real.
Patrick Ewing refused to dap me up in Best Buy one time.
Really?
Why?
Because he's a fucking prick. That's why. It was like 2004. I was in high school. I was in like 10th grade maybe. And my friend had just gotten this car. It was a Dodge Shadow, a real piece of shit little pinto bean of a car. Yeah. And we were smoking weed in his Dodge Shadow, and we needed anything to do. And we went to the Best Buy. I don't know if it's still there in Richmond by the Galleria. Mm-hmm. And cool. And we were in the CD aisle, just like high, walking around. I was looking at some CDs, flipping. I looked up on the other side of the aisle was Patrick Ewing. And I went, Patrick Ewing? What's up, baby? And I stuck my hand out. And he like acted like just he was incognito. He acted like I had just insulted him. And he was wearing all leather pants, leather jacket, leather bucket hat. And he pulled down the leather bucket hat, looked to the side like this and walked away. And I was like, I just stood there like with my hand out. And my friend thought it was the funniest shit on earth. He fell down, puked in his mouth from laughing so hard. We had to get out of Best Buy because Patrick Ewing had just fucking embarrassed me. And I wrote that shit on Twitter a few years ago, and then people were DMing me like, Patrick Ewing wouldn't dap me up at the mall. Patrick Ewing wouldn't dap me up. He's a real disrespectful motherfucker. And that's why they lost in '94 to the Rockets.
Exactly. Yes. I know you're a huge Rockets fan. Right. Yes, I understand. But how can you be, number one, celebrities? You cannot be incognito and all leather. No.
7'1".
Yeah. Yes, you're 7 foot. What? You cannot. You're 7 foot 1 inch. You can't.
Everybody knows he's Patrick Ewing.
Exactly.
Like, come on. Yeah. Anybody
and
that's
all leather?
All leather. It was shining. It was shining. It was glistening. Oh. Yeah, it's just.
So he's coming out like a 90s comedian. And
oh, like Eddie Griffin. He looked like Eddie Griffin.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you dressed in all leather is going to attract attention. All leather in Houston, I don't even care what time of the year it is. There's never a reason for all leather.
December 8th, 2004. I'll never forget that shit.
December 8th, 2004 was still too hot.
Day will live in infamy. That's what I said.
It was still too hot for all leather. All leather?
That's too much.
Okay.
Contrast that, my dad was a maintenance guy at the Sheraton Grand when I was a kid. And during the '94 finals, when I was like 6 years old, he let me stand by one of the elevators with cards because the Knicks were staying at the Sheraton Grand. And John Starks walked out and I handed him a card. John Starks signed it. And so I have a signed John Starks card. That's a nice person that played for the Knicks. You know, it's fine. John Starks, like, he didn't deserve to lose that title. Patrick did it for him with his bad juju, you know?
Yeah. That was all Patrick.
That was all Patrick. Doesn't matter. John Starks was like 2 for 18 in a game. Fuck that shit. That was
that's all Patrick.
Yeah. Fucking.
Well, your love for the Rockets is refreshing.
Oh yeah.
Well, you think the Rockets are gonna go all the way in this weird possible season?
No.
Who do you think's gonna get it?
Probably the Clippers.
The Clippers. That's actually
the Clippers.
Okay.
All they needed was rest. Kawhi Leonard seems like the type of guy who would ball out even if there were no fans. Like, he doesn't care. He's just got played.
I don't think Kawhi Leonard even pays attention to anybody in the stands.
That's what I'm saying. Whereas,
you're right.
My favorite player is LeBron. I think he pays a lot of attention to fans in the stands.
Yeah.
I think this could affect his energy level a great amount.
Yeah.
You know? So when you put it in that, I don't think Giannis, I think he feeds off like fans in the stands. I think someone like Kawhi Leonard plays exactly the same each time. So I think it could really benefit him. Plus all this time off, when he loves time off. He loves time off. He loves to sit around and rest. Yeah. So
Now, Harden has been doing a lot of workouts in the sand. I don't know how that's going to affect it.
All right. All right.
I've seen video. I was like, okay, that's great. That's great. Okay.
Makes your tendons stronger and your calves stronger. He's able, if he could.
No. I'm not saying the reason why. I think it's great that he's working out. I just don't, I'm a huge Rockets fan. I'm just used to being disappointed.
So.
Yeah.
Comes with being a Rockets and a Texans fan. Comes with being.
I just
I don't know much about football, but I think they suck, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
For lack of a better word.
Yes.
They traded the good people, right?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They trade in true Houston fashion. We like to send people to the winning team.
Of course.
So it's like, hey, like I feel like if I was on a Houston team and they traded me to anywhere, I don't care if they're like, oh, you're going to Nova Scotia. I was like, oh, we're about to win a championship.
Oh yeah,
okay,
Nova
that's cool.
Scotia about to smash.
Yeah. That's just pretty much how it works out. So
they trade you to like the dynasty teams. You'd be like, when we lost all them players to the Yankees, we lost, bro. I'm like, what was this about? Now we're losing players to the Belichicks, whatever they're called. You know,
right? Yeah, of course. That team.
Yeah.
Seems right.
That's just how it is. So I'm used to being the eternally disappointed Houston fan. But back to you and Houston. So back in Houston, at what point you're already groomed, you're trained basically to do music. Yeah. At what point are you starting to do this where it's like, oh, okay, I'm making some money at music. I'm starting to get out there and do things. I
always knew that I was going to do music for a living. There was no other option for me.
Okay.
There was nothing else I ever even considered, anything like that. I went to college for music out here in LA. I went to MI in Hollywood, and I thought I was going to be a professional guitar player. And one of my favorite teacher was like, you're not supposed to play guitar for a living. You're supposed to do something else. He was just like, something with a bunch of instruments, whatever it is, where you play a lot of stuff. Because at that point, when I was 14, my dad got me a multi-track recorder for my birthday. So I was already recording myself playing all the instruments, making albums in high school where I was playing all the instruments, where I was playing drums, bass, guitar, keys, just making general noise. So at that point, I just needed to know how to harness that into something that, made gross earnings. And a friend of mine who was like a dope dealer was like, you know what you ought to do? You can make beats. That's like playing all the instruments except you can sell the things you did. And he was friends with a couple rappers, so he hooked me up with them. Hooked me up with a guy who loaned me a ton of equipment, an MPC, a motif, all this shit, and I learned how to make beats. And then after I finished, I got an associate's degree in college, and I came back. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? And the guy was like, you want to start a company? So then I started a company.
What was the name of the company?
Rockaway Productions. Same thing I have now.
Okay. So this is the company.
Yeah, I'm making fun of myself there. Yeah. I'm doing myself with the dumb voice there. Yeah.
So you still use the motif?
What'd you say?
You still use the motif?
No. Everything's on the computer now except for like I have a Moog.
You have a Moog?
Yeah, I have a Moog, Low Fatty. The end of Cold Blooded is like a Moog Low Fatty. That bass line. That thing is like a Moog. I have a couple of keyboards around here, but and a lot of like pocket little synths. Yeah. Like I like to collect like little weird synthesizers that are made out of like sinks and shit like that. I have a theremin, but mostly it's on the computer now.
You have a theremin?
Yeah, I have a little pocket theremin. I would show it to you, but yeah, it's really cool. It's a light-based theremin, and most of the time I just run it through auto-tune and then like move my hand around. And it sounds like a Zapp and Rogers song. It sounds really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What programs are you using on the computer, if you don't mind?
To make beats, a lot of times now, a few months ago, I switched to Ableton, and I love it.
Ableton is nice.
Ableton's like, that's the LA thing. When I came to LA, I was using Logic and Machine, and people said just start using Machine inside of Ableton and use Ableton, because that was like the big thing here in sessions. Yeah. Because the big thing about Ableton is a lot of times when you're making tracks for somebody will late in the session be like, hey, speed it up 3 BPM. And Ableton just automatically adjusts, which is amazing. Or the person who's writing top line or vocals might be like, hey, can we go up a half step? And you can just take the whole session, move it up a half step. Nice. So there's a lot of stuff like that in Ableton that it's a very flexible program. And then I always end up in Pro Tools though. So I like to send it out. I like to do a rough mix myself before it goes to the engineer. Or if the artist doesn't have a lot of money, not a lot of money, or if they like my mix, I'll fully do the mix in the end. So I do that on Pro Tools.
I like the correction. Like, not a lot of money, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to call people broke, but
we're in a recession, so
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I use.
So when you were here, like at first, before your well, actually, what prompted the move out to LA, just in general?
A few years ago, I was like, I started to see like a lot of people. I was going back and forth a lot. I just wanted to start working with like on a bigger scale. I wanted to start doing stuff. It was on TV shows, movies. Really, it was just trying to get with like bigger artists. And a lot of people were saying, come out to LA and work, come out to LA and work all the time. I was coming out on and off. I was working with, you guys know this guy. It was probably in my bio on a website. I worked with Artest a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was out here, so I was going back and forth working with him and his artists. So I was just, at one point I was like, why not move back out to LA? Because in Houston, it was like I was working with the artists I wanted to work with in Houston, and I retained them while moving to LA and got to work with new people. So to me, it was a win-win.
Makes sense. Okay. How was it working with Ron Artest?
Oh, it's great. He's cool. He's cool. I don't have anything negative to say about him. He's cool. I met him.
Honestly, I was waiting to hear like I mean, I always hear like great stories about Ron Artest for people that know him.
Well, a lot of them are like really fucking weird stories that like he probably would be like, don't say that story. Like, he's the king of saying that's crazy to everything. He always says that shit. That's crazy. So like I would just see how far I could take that's crazy with him. I would start talking about like alien conspiracy theories. I would be like, yeah, and the highest levels of government are controlled by the Anunnaki. He'd be like, that's crazy. See how long I could get it. I would just say bullshit. I would just spout bullshit and see how far I could get that's crazy. Because he says the same thing every time. You just gotta see how he sort of makes it sound, you know?
Like the
inflection.
Yeah. See how he inflects the phrase. Yeah.
It's like you're just entertaining yourself at that point. I understand.
Oh yeah. I'm entertaining myself with Ron Artest like 4 feet from me. I'm not gonna call him the other name. I just call him Ron. Yeah. I'm not gonna call a grown man Meta.
Meta world peace.
Meta world peace.
I'm just wondering, do they like have him call you like, oh, that's Mr. Meta World Peace or Mr. Peace or Mr. I don't know how you.
I call that man Ron. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Ron. I got.
All right, Ron. Yeah, cool. Hey, Ron, and he turns around. It's all good. Yeah.
Now,
but anybody that doesn't know him, call him Meta World Peace.
Yeah. Now, who were some of the artists that you really enjoyed or you were working with in Houston?
Oh, all the guys you know, Jack, Dustin. I was working with Lyric Michelle, who I liked a lot.
Lyric Michelle is out there, right?
Yeah. But those are like my favorites. Like Jack is probably like one of my favorites to work with. I was working with. There are a ton of good artists in Houston, but a lot of them are out in LA now. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, like I'd say my favorites were the ones where I got to do the whole albums. I like doing the whole album because then I can sort of map out the album as an arc, the color of the album, the shape of the album, all that stuff. So you're talking about Jack, Dustin, people like that. Boss, people like that. Yeah.
Now, who are some of the artists now that you can talk about that you're working with out there?
It's hard because a lot of shit hasn't come out. So like, God, it's hard saying because I don't want to say it and then jinx it or say it then have the artist be like, why'd you say this?
Yeah. No, don't get in trouble.
Don't get in trouble.
But like big.
Yeah.
Big. I had a couple songs. I can tell you the TV shows I've been on, like, I got a couple months ago, I had a couple songs on this show on ABC called, what is it called? A Million Little Things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple songs on there. That was cool. I just had shit on like random TV shows, like some show on Showtime. White Famous, is it White People Famous? White Famous?
Yeah.
I saw the clips for that. Yeah. Like even when going out there, so you're talking about like the opportunities.
A lot of it is stuff like that, like working on.
What was it like getting out there and getting into like film and television work?
Well, getting into film and television is basically the same. The work is the same work. It's just about presenting it and putting it in people's libraries. And a lot of times there's there are tons of like go-betweens for working in film and television. There are tons of people who are like, I'll show it to, you know, the music director for this show. I'll show it to the music supervisor for this film. There's a lot of shit like that. It's just meeting those people, putting the songs in those libraries, figuring out how to structure the deal, and then just waiting to see if there's money.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's not like I'm sitting there like, you know, with Peter Jackson watching Lord of the Rings, you know, watching like The Hobbit, and he's like, do this, Rockaway. I'm like, beep, boop, boop. No, it's like, I just put some fucking MP3s in a library, and they contact me a year later and say, you're getting $3,000 from ABC in 12 months. You know, some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shit like that. Yeah, that's about the work process. The workflow is exactly the same.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess overall then, like you said, you like working with just albums as a whole, as opposed to doing just individual tracks?
Yeah, I like individual tracks, but with the album, we can sort of like map out a sound for the album, which I like a lot. Especially with somebody like Jack, where I see Jack as more of like an album artist. Like he's somebody who likes to make conceptual pieces for albums. Same thing with Dustin.
Absolutely.
Dude, Dustin, these are like conceptual pieces. They're not, you can listen to a song off their album, or you can listen to the whole album and see how the story arc like sort of progresses and all that stuff. So I like sort of mapping it out, like, you know, like my own personal little version of like that game Candyland, you know, where, okay, now we're going into the gumdrop forest. Now we're going into the candy cane basin, or whatever the fuck it was. And so, I like doing that type of shit. One song is really cool to me too, but the problem with doing one song is sort of like the personal thing with the artist, where they're waiting for you to impress them with one song, and they'll want to put the entire history of music into one song, and they want you to impress them. Whereas if somebody gives you the trust of putting together an album, you can make every song occupy its own space, rather than that song by song approach where they want this sort of schizophrenic thing where the songs keep, you know, they want to put everything into one song. You know, if we do a whole album, there's a place for everything, and everything will be in its place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was thinking about part of the reason why I had reached out to Floss, because he had been trying to connect us for a while, is I think Dustin a few days ago posted on his story him just kind of humming a song, and then a couple of points in the story later, it was, this is what Rockaway sends you when you hum something, and
right.
yeah, it sounded incredible. So I guess the thing about that too is how is y'all's work process when it comes to different artists?
Well, it's different with everybody, and it's about comfort, and it's about if the end product, which is what I really care about, matches, or it's that the end product is optimized, right? And so a lot of times we're having these synthesized disparate elements here. So if I were to say, Dustin sometimes will send me a voice note, and it'll have a bass line, boom, right? Boom, so I have to go, okay, what is that? And I have to go, okay, what are the chords on that? Cool, what is he trying to do, and what would be a cool sound? And I sit there, I write it all down on a piece of paper. I like to map stuff out beforehand. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Then I send him back the track, and he goes, oh, cool. Same thing with Jack. Jack will sometimes send me one of the instruments that he'll be humming out. Jack one time sent me a whole one. There's a song that he did in 2014 called Lay With You. He sent me the whole thing, voice noted out, every instrument. Whereas like a lot of times, or I should say other times, somebody like Jack or Dustin, they'll come in and be like, could you do something sort of like this? And I'll start playing around, and they'll go, yeah, that. And then I just go. Oh. So it works. There's so many different workflows here. There's so many different ways of having it. Sometimes I have beats, but a lot of times those beats are just for people who want to come in and buy one song. And so I'll go through my iTunes, play them a beat, and they can buy a beat. Whereas like if we want to make a song, it's about sitting there and collaborating one by one, you know, one instrument by instrument.
Now, with the music that you kind of have in your head and the music you're creating, how do you decide like, hey, this should go to somebody, or hey, this needs to be on my own stuff? Like I saw you released like Filthy Disgusting, but you release your own EPs and you release your own albums.
Oh, it's very obvious from the first 5 seconds whether or not it should be from me or an artist. Like if it sounds like trash cans rolling down the stairs, that's me.
That's you.
If it sounds like a nice piece of music, then that's going to somebody else.
And has anybody even come to you with, hey, it sounds like trash cans rolling down the stairs, and I want that?
I have one song, the first ever project I released under my own name. It's called Scenes 1986. Like 10 people were like, hey, can I rap over the first song? And I said, absolutely not. I said, absolutely not. I'm 100% not. Yeah. No. It's supposed to be like a theme song from an imaginary cop movie that I never made. You know, like did you ever see that movie To Live and Die in LA?
Yes.
Yeah, it's whack, but it's badass. It's one of those movies that's like bad but good. So something like that. I was trying to make an imaginary soundtrack for that. People will be like, can I sing on top of that? No. But I can make you something that sounds like not like that. You know?
What happens if Jay-Z calls and says he wants it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends. Like, and nobody wants to hear that. Like, if like, you know, Lil Pooty or whatever asked me for it, I'm gonna be like, no. But if like Jay-Z calls me, I'm gonna say yes. And Lil Pooty doesn't want to hear that I would say yes to Jay-Z, but not to them.
Yeah.
No artist wants to feel. Yeah, no artist wants to feel that they're like part of a lower strata than a guy who's worth $1 billion. But it just is what it is. You know?
And you are in the business of selling music. Like, that's the point. So you're like, hey, like, this makes more sense to me to sell to Jay-Z because it's Jay-Z. Like, if Jay-Z pulls up, I'm selling.
Right. It works in the short term and the long term in the sense that if I do a song with Jay-Z, that's 400 clients that spring out from that right there. Right? That means that I can get money from teenagers doing, you know, songs for their bar mitzvahs for the next 10 years. You know what I'm saying? If you do one big song, there's so much long tail revenue from that based on just fucking busters coming to you and wanting to overpay you in cash.
Yeah.
Not that anybody I worked with has ever been a buster.
That's good. That's good. That's very diplomatic.
Ignore that, guys. Yeah.
I mean, you think about it though, because Avery and I talked. Well, he just got on. We were talking about Run the Jewels the other day because I used to listen to. I listened to a lot of LP, and then when they were like, "Hey, LP and Killer Mike are going to do something together," I was like, "Are they?" Because LP makes some kind of jarring beats sometimes. I just don't see it happening. And they popped up together, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this makes sense. Like it worked for them."
Right. Yeah, it's I like Run the Jewels a lot. Yeah. Sometimes it just happens to work. Sometimes you, like I said, you have to synthesize disparate elements, and sometimes shit tastes good. If you had told me some of the things they put in ice cream now, if you had asked me when I was 5, I would say, "Don't put that in my fucking ice cream." You try it out, it's fucking delish. And so, yeah, same thing with like something like Run the Jewels.
Yeah. Are there artists? Are you one of those people that's like, yo, I want to work with anybody? It doesn't matter. Are there particular artists you're like, yo, I really want to get with this person?
There's not. There are not a ton of people that like I think like, oh, I want to work with this person. There are people I think like, oh, I could kill one thing for that person, right? But then sometimes you work with people, and I'm not gonna say anybody's name, but like I've been in the studio with like some big people who are like humongously disappointing, big fucking assholes.
That's like so that don't meet your heroes thing.
Yeah, so sometimes I think like, yeah, I would like to work with that person, but over email,
not in the studio.
Yeah, especially like other producers. Like I would, in my mind, I always wanted to work like in the Mike Dean role for Kanye. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I do the synth. You show me the basic thing, I'll do all the other little shit, all the ornamental production shit. Ooh. But then I see like, I'm not trying, Mike Dean's amazing, but look at his face since he started working with Kanye. It's like Kanye's aging that man rapidly.
Yeah. Rapidly, I know.
Hashtag save Mike Dean. Like the guy's
unrecognizable almost.
Mummifying in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I see like that shit can be stressful because it's like it's probably it's got to be extremely rewarding, but at the same time, you got to be willing to put in insane hours. And I've only got so many days of insane hours in me. I can give you 3 days, 3 nights until 4 a.m. Then give me like 2 days where I can like work until 9 p.m. Like I can't do And then, you know, you're working on like the whims of like a large artist, right? If you're working with somebody like that, it's like, I know people who've worked with big artists and been homeless while they were doing it. You know what I'm saying? I worked with them for like 2 years straight and been like homeless because the big artists, like the album hasn't come out yet. There's no money, you know? I know people who work out here for like huge artists who are working insanely bullshit jobs. If I told you what jobs, you know, I'm talking like, you know, urinal cake style jobs, and they're working with like some of the biggest artists in music. So the dissonance of that could probably get to me, you know? So when I think of working with a big artist, I'm like, you know, they probably record 10 times more than they release. So you're talking about working with them, possibly not learning shit, staying up till 4 a.m., not getting a penny.
And it might
never come out. You can't even tell anybody you worked with them.
Yeah.
Because the song never came out.
Yeah.
That's true. Because, like, even with Yandi, like, there's a few people that I was like, yo, you were supposed to blow if Yandi would have come out. Yes. And it didn't.
It didn't. That happens a lot. I've worked with some humongous named people, and the shit never came out, so it's like I can't even really talk about it in public. And it's like the shit was good. I've worked with big people where the shit was amazing, big people where the shit was not amazing. Yeah, if it doesn't come out, you get $0.00. That's just how it works.
Wow.
So, and you can't ask them for money. You can't be like, hey, Kanye, you think you could just loan me some money? He's gonna be like, there's 1,000 people outside the door that will work for total free just for the opportunity to work with me, even though I'm not going to impart any wisdom upon them. That's not saying Kanye wouldn't do that, but, you know, that's generally how it works. They're trying to, generally the way that some people view it is those people are vampiric, right? They like sort of like suck talent from like their underlings. That's not how I view it. I view it as like they just need fresh, I was going to say fresh blood, but
I was about to say
fresh ideas.
You need fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Yes, fresh ideas. And sounding boards.
Yeah, and I'll be that for a few days. I've been that for like a week for somebody. I've been that for like 5 days for somebody, but I'm not gonna be that for like 2 years and like be living, you know, in Prospect Park. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I like my shit. I like my whole space. I like expensive. I like expensive moisturizers. You know.
$75 moisturizer.
I love them. Gotta be foreign. Gotta be foreign moisturizer. Gotta be foreign. You gotta come from Nordstrom or nicer. Nordstrom.
Yeah. And 75 is the low end.
75 is low end, man. My shit's gotta be unpronounceable.
Yeah.
That shit's gotta have the egg of an animal that no longer exists.
They gotta have Eye of Newt in it and all that other shit.
Eye of Newt.
Yeah, it's the only way to stop going down like the Mike Dean skin path. You know?
I understand. Between
I'm not trying it, man. I love Mike Dean.
Yeah.
It's just his skin. He needs a.
No. And it's jarring when you see somebody age so quickly over time.
He needs the shit, like if you've ever seen the movie American Psycho, when Christian Bale pulls the shit off, that's what Mike Dean needs, except he needs to do it with his actual skin. Just pull it off. Just pull it off like on some Silence of the Lambs shit, and it will reveal me.
Yeah. He looks like a dad that's trying to be cool.
Yeah.
But then you see him. I'm like, between Kanye and Travis Scott, Mike Dean is like, I don't know when he gets time between Travis Scott, Mike Dean, and Jay Prince. What's going on with Mike? But you know,
non-stop working, and still wears the Rap-A-Lot chain.
He does.
Amazing.
That's how I think the Kanye and Drake beef ended. Like, what's his name? How did I forget his name? The Rap-A-Lot guy. Golly. Jay Prince called Kanye and was like, if you keep talking, I'm taking Mike Dean.
Right.
Everything stops.
Like, never mind.
I have no comment on that. Yeah.
I have no comment on it either.
Yeah.
Let's go back since we brought up Jay Prince. Let's talk about other Houston people though. How do you connect with them, Floss, all the
Oh, that was my business partner's older brother was friends with Floss at Lamar. So I met Floss when I was still starting out. So like when I started out producing, I had a lot of capital from an investor. So I had all this equipment and didn't know how to use it. I knew how to play music, but I didn't know how to make it sound hard. And so the guy was like, my business partner's older brother was like, I know this guy, his name's Hollywood Floss. He might have still had braids then, I can't remember. But he showed up and he had a song where he made the beat himself. And I tried to make it sound good, and I probably made it sound marginally better. And it started from there. And really, Floss is one of the main reasons I am even still doing this, got better at it, because Floss trusted that I was good enough and came so much to the studio, like every week for like 8 years, that like I was able to grow based on his feedback and him letting me do what I was going to do. So that's how I met him. And then, you know, that blossomed into meeting Hash, Dustin, John Dew, all those guys. Kid the Great, my personal favorite, Kid the Great.
Oh yeah, Kid the Great is great.
Everybody's favorite Kid the Great.
Yeah, man,
I loved introducing people from out of town to Kid the Great. I love being like, here's Kid the Great, and you know, he's just as fucking bizarre in person as his records would suggest.
I would love to be a fly on the wall between y'all having a conversation, because
he just makes up shit. Yeah, I love it. He had this pencil bag that he brought to the studio all the time, and I had a girl come in from out of town. And I was like, "You gotta meet Kid the Great," and she was like, "Okay," and she was like, "What's in the pencil bag?" And he pulled out like a gun, and I was like, "You've been bringing a gun?" And then he pulled out like all this magic trick shit. He was like, "Here, you know, those rings that like interlock." You know, like that? And then, like,
random.
Yeah, and then he had like 500 business. He had like jeans he had converted into jorts, but he'd done them too short, so like the pockets were like goofy ears hanging out at the bottom. And he like, I was like, "What's in your pocket?" And he pulled out like 500 abogado business cards, like lawyer business cards written in Espanol. And I was like, "What's in the other one?" And there was a pacifier. And I was like, "What is this pacifier for?" And he's like, "For my White House." I was like, "Really?"
Sounds like Kid the Great.
I was like, "Don't lie to me, man. What is it for?" He's like, "It's for my White House." He never even told me what it was. I mean, it might have been. But
I feel like that's what it was for.
Yeah, he wasn't lying like that.
Sounds like Kid the Great. If you go back and watch his episode, people who are listening, it sounds like Kid the Great. You can hear it for real.
Yeah, that's for my White House.
Just randomly says, like, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall and just see what happens in his life, because he just does stuff. So
he just does shit. He showed up one time with this really nice laptop, and he was intent on playing NBA 2K. And so he and Floss and I, at the end of our sessions for like a year, played NBA 2K. And like, I'm really bad at video games. I hadn't played video games since Nintendo 64 until 2K18 or whatever, 2K17, whatever it was. And so I was really bad, but I still beat Kid, because Kid put together such a fucking awful roster. He just thought that if you put all centers on the court, it would be all good. So it was like Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, like it was like all centers and one guard, Rodney Stuckey. And so he thought Rodney Stuckey was the greatest player on earth because I was the only person with handles. We just we beat the tar out of Kid the Great every single week. It was amazing. And he was good at the game too. He just like he just thought like, they all 7 feet, can't shoot. You know, like,
right. Your Kid the Great impression.
He has a great Kid the Great impression.
Yeah, it almost sounds racist, but it's not. It's just kids.
That's how he sounds.
Yeah, that's how he sounds.
We had to turn his mic up so much when I was like, no, they're not going to be able to hear. But when he's singing and rapping, you hear him so clearly.
Oh, it's like Beethoven. First off, he can't hear. So like, he's like 80% deaf, 90%. He's like Beethoven. So like his headphones, if you ever put his personal headphones on, is deafening. Like he's breaking. It will break your ears if you ever listen to his shit. Yeah, one of the weirdest dudes. One time he was like, "I need you to find a movie for me." I was like, "Okay, what movie, man? Is it like some weird shit?" He was like, Joe Dorowski's Dune, which is like a bizarre art film documentary from like the 90s. This obscure documentary about the guy who originally tried to make Frank Herbert's Dune novel into a movie in the 70s and made a 600-page novel or a 600-page like illustrated book based on it. I was like, why do you know about Joe Dorowski's Dune? Like, kids' interests are so disparate.
Yeah.
We have unreleased songs that are good, and then some that are unlistenable because he wanted to sample the Smashing Pumpkins, and he was just like intent on doing it. When he wants to do it, he does it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Floss would tell me all sorts of shit about him. Just want, like trading his car for a scooter. He just wanted it.
Oh, Floss usually keeps. I mean, even when Floss is talking about some of the songs he's put out, like Floss is like, I'm just there. I'm looking like on his computer. I'm like, what song is this? He goes, oh, just
5%
something I worked on. He's like, I'm taking this and we're releasing it now. He's like, I don't know. Like, what?
Yeah, Kid had a song one time. He told me to put gunshot sounds on it. I had produced a song. He wanted I co-produced it with Hash. He wanted gunshot sounds. I was like, where? He's like, ba 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 ba, and it was like, by the time he was like, turn them up. So by the time it was the end of the song, these gunshots just took over the song, right? And the song was a very nice, beautiful like R&B song, and like, but he and I was like, Kid, that's not a good idea. He was like, it's what I want. I was like, he would always say, I want it, or I gotta have it. And so he was just like, I gotta have it. And finally, like, I was like, we need to play this for some of the other members of them. We played it in front of like Hash and John doing all those guys. And they were like, what the fuck are these gun sounds? And it was like, that was Rockaway. Motherfucker.
I know Hash was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that once Kid gets shamed by like a group of 7 people, like we took the gun sounds off, but that's what you got to do with Kid, because he doesn't realize how, like, despite the fact that he's brilliant in many ways, like some of his ideas are so asinine. It's a good thing he'll never hear this interview.
He's not. I don't even think he listened to the one that we featured him on.
No, he probably didn't at all. At all. Yeah, no, but some of his ideas are so left field. I'll just say asinine. But it's great that like we were able to shame him out of them and get him to put out some songs. It's great. Yeah.
All right. So what can we expect to see from you like in the near future? Any EPs, albums, things like that are coming out?
Yeah. I have a couple that I'm working on right now. I don't know which ones are right to like put out. I have like one that's sort of like my take on house music, but it still sounds like trash cans. So it's like that. It's like house music without melody, which is pretty cool. That one's mostly done. I have one that's sort of like an empty world sound. Like I really liked the early days of the pandemic because I could just walk down the street and there was nobody there, which was like a recurring fantasy I had when I was a kid. Is that one day I could just wake up and nobody would be anywhere. I could just enjoy everything for one day on my own. And then I could wake up the next day and everybody would be back. And so I made an EP that sort of sounds like that and is based on that. So I have some shit like that. I'm working on something with Jack, something with Dustin, obviously. Some stuff with some artists out here. A lot of people don't put out shit in LA. So I wouldn't even say look out for it because that's just probably not ever coming out. So yeah, I got some stuff on my own, some stuff with the artists you guys know. Yeah, as always.
Absolutely. And how can people like reach you? What's the information you want people like fans or whatnot if they want to like hear more of your music?
Let me see. You can just search Chris Rockaway on Spotify, Apple Music, all that shit. And then on Instagram, I'm Chris_Rockaway. I don't use Twitter anymore. I haven't been on Twitter in like a million
years.
I
saw that. It's like, I
just didn't like it anymore. So I'm not. So Instagram's the best. So I've never had a Facebook. Anything you see on Facebook is not me.
Oh, okay. What made you stop liking Twitter?
It's just like all the joke people started just getting mad. And then like you just see people hammering the same anger all day. I was like, I'm already angry. I'm already an angry dude. So I don't need this type of anger. And then just the refreshing, the dopamine hit when you get like 100 retweets. Like I was like, I should get my dopamine from somewhere else. I should get my dopamine from meditation or, basketball or some shit like that, or music, rather than just like constantly refreshing Twitter, So that was the impetus behind that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because if Twitter was making you angry, then you should definitely not hop on now. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like now it's just to be like, and even Instagram makes me like a little, you know, because you're angry at like what's going on in the world. You know, it's also the world should make you angry. All of this is a lot of social media is overexposure of what's happening in the world. I shouldn't say over because people can organize and put together good shit on those platforms. You know, people can organize some cool protests. You know, fuck up some cop cars, all the good shit. On those platforms. So I like that. But like other than that, I don't want to just see like another thing that the president said. It does nothing for me.
Which is a lot of Twitter right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking Twitter. It's just like the president said this, president said, yeah, I know. It's that guy says shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, somebody posted because they just found out, and you're like, I'm back here again.
Yeah, I don't want to keep any of them.
I think that's what it is for me. It's the delayed waves of like you got the first wave of people that saw, and then 3 days later it's the next wave, and then 8 days later it's the next wave, and then you switch to an app like Facebook, and they're like, 48 days behind.
Oh, Facebook's way behind because it's your aunt. If you're white, it's your racist aunt, and she's like, Trayvon Martin was a bad kid. And you're like, oh, God. So I'm not getting on that. I'm not getting on that one.
That's why I even believe when people are like, like you'll see on Twitter, they're like, I didn't know any of this. I was like, yeah, probably because you get your news from Facebook, and y'all are just now getting some stuff where I'm just like, what?
If you're white, your grandma's probably saying there's an Antifa credit card or some shit. Like it's just like they're just posting pure fake shit. It's like I can't believe it. And you just want to be, and you don't want to school your grandma on Facebook.
On Facebook, no.
I don't want to school my bubby on Facebook. That's not cool.
Yeah, because that's all they're going to talk about at dinner when you get there. It's like, wow, you've been really disrespectful on Facebook.
No, all they talk about is how much they hate my tattoos. But then on Facebook, all they're going to talk about is how good the police are or something like that.
Now, your parents, though, how are they with? They got to be proud of the whole musical career.
I don't want you guys to get sad, but they're both gone from this earth. Don't give me the no. It's all good. It's all good. That's not my family view death. My mom died when I was little. My dad died when I was 21. But they loved anything. My dad, I could be a janitor right now. My dad would be like, "Man, look how he scoops up that shit." Like, they were very proud no matter what. So, and my dad got to see me producing for like a little bit, and that was very cool. So. I know exactly what their reactions to everything would be. It would be great. It would be proud.
That's positive.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that's great that he got to see you produce, especially because that's what he wanted you to be doing.
Yeah, well, he just wanted me to be doing anything.
With
the fucking music, yeah. Otherwise, yeah. So, yeah.
There we go.
Good.
Well, look. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, look, we appreciate you taking the time out to actually speak with us. We are big fans of your work, especially
really.
If you done with Jack. Lyric Michelle, like we huge fans. So please keep it up, and we're glad you took the time to speak with us and our guests. I'm sorry, our audience.
Our audience, yeah. I'm a producer nerd, so I just love hearing about the programs, everything that you do. I used to produce, so I would just listening to you. I'm like, yo, like I like producers like yourself because you can tell you have a skill level that is like, you have a high skill level, but you can do anything and you choose to entertain yourself.
Right.
Like that's the greatest thing because you could be like, all right, all this is made in F sharp. So let me not use that. I'm like, yo, you're a pretty bright guy. It's entertaining to me. I love that. These are the people that produce for you people. These are the type of guys. This man right here is the one. Like a lot of tracks you've heard already, he's had his hand in or has produced. So you just want to do your Googles, do your research. Once again, thank you again very much, Chris Rockaway. I can't thank you enough. In my humble opinion podcast, that is just Devon, boom. I like to do the boom. And also, I've been your host, Avery, like a very nice guy, also known as Avery the Anomaly, and Vince McBands. Once again, in my humble opinion podcast, thank you and good night. Boom.
All right.